Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is celebrated as one of the most influential figures in American history. His famous "I Have a Dream" speech still echoes in classrooms, rallies, and hearts around the world. But behind the global icon was a man who was also a husband and a father of four. When Dr. King was assassinated in April 1968, his children were still very young. Their lives would never be the same, and from that moment on, they carried the burden of not just personal grief, but also the expectations of an entire world that looked to them as the living legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. Let's take a closer look at the King children, how they grew up, what paths they chose, and how even the next generation, the King granddaughter, has stepped into history. Yolanda Denise King, born in 1955, was just 12 years old when she lost her father. As the firstborn, she witnessed more of her father's work than her siblings did. She was there for marches, speeches, and the struggles of her family during the civil rights movement. After her father's death, Yolanda chose to express herself through creativity. She became an actress and appeared in films and plays, but her acting wasn't just entertainment, it was a tool for change. She performed in productions that highlighted civil rights, social justice, and peace. She wrote books and delivered motivational speeches, often encouraging young people to find their voice. Yolanda was known for her warmth, her compassion, and her ability to inspire others through storytelling. Her life, however, was tragically cut short. In 2007, at the age of 51, she passed away unexpectedly from a heart condition. For the King family, it was another devastating loss. But even though her time was short, Yolanda left behind a message: art can be activism, and the dream can be shared through creativity just as powerfully as through speeches and protests. Martin Luther King III, born in 1957, he grew up with the heavy responsibility of carrying his father's name. Out of all the children, he most closely stepped into the role of a public leader. In 1997, he became president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the same organization his father co-founded during the height of the civil rights movement. Martin III led campaigns around poverty, racial justice, and especially voting rights. His voice has often been heard at rallies where he calls for fair elections and equal access to democracy. But Martin III isn't just focused on activism, he's also a writer. Along with his wife, Andrea Waters King, he published a book in 2024 titled "What is My Legacy?" The book reflects on how individuals can build meaningful lives, create positive change, and honor their own history. Today, Martin Luther King III continues to stay very active. He and his family are leading the Realize the Dream initiative, which aims to inspire 100 million hours of community service by 2029, the year that would have marked his father's 100th birthday. He also co-hosts the new My Legacy podcast and radio show where he discusses leadership, unity, and social change with well-known public figures. Alongside this, he has been working on building Black Latino coalitions and speaking across the country about the need for empathy, civic engagement, and true connection in a divided world. Martin III's life reminds us that the King name is not just about speeches and marches, it's about taking action to solve the ongoing problems of today. He has often said that while America has made progress since his father's time, the fight for equality is far from over, and he has dedicated his life to pushing that fight forward. Dexter Scott King, born in 1961, was only 7 years old when he lost his father. Unlike his siblings, Dexter often preferred to stay away from the public spotlight, but his role was no less important. Dexter became the guardian of his father's intellectual property, the speeches, the writings, the image of Martin Luther King Jr. He managed the King estate and oversaw licensing agreements. His job wasn't glamorous, but it was crucial. Without him, many of MLK's works might have been misused, commercialized, or forgotten. Dexter made sure that his father's message remained intact and respected. He also served as chairman of the King Center, the institution founded by his mother, Coretta Scott King, to promote nonviolence and peace. Sadly, in January 2024, Dexter passed away at the age of 62 after a battle with prostate cancer. His passing was a painful moment, not just for his family, but also for everyone who understood how much he quietly contributed to protecting MLK's legacy. Dexter may not have been the most public figure, but his work behind the scenes ensured that Martin Luther King Jr.'s words and legacy would remain protected for future generations. Bernice King, born in 1963, is the youngest of the 4 children, and today she is one of the most visible leaders of the King family. A lawyer and ordained minister, Bernice has combined her legal knowledge, spiritual foundation, and passion for social justice into a powerful voice for change. She currently serves as the CEO of the King Center in Atlanta. Under her leadership, the King Center continues to be a hub for education, activism, and the philosophy of nonviolence. Bernice often speaks at national events, urging people to resist hatred and division. She has criticized the rise of polarizing rhetoric in America, warning that her father's dream is at risk if people allow anger and violence to dominate political and social debates. Bernice represents the bridge between the King legacy of the past and the social justice challenges of the present. Her speeches remind people that Dr. King's message is not locked in the history books. It's a living guide for how we should act today. The King legacy is not just about the 4 children, it's also about the new generation that has already begun to take the stage. Born in 2008, Yolanda Renee King is the only grandchild of Martin Luther King Jr. She is the daughter of Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King. Despite her young age, Yolanda has already made headlines as an activist and public speaker. She has spoken at rallies about issues like gun violence prevention, equality in schools, and voting rights. In 2024, she co-authored a picture book titled We Dream a World. The book was aimed at inspiring children to imagine a fairer, kinder society, continuing her grandfather's mission, but through the eyes of today's youth. Along with her parents, she also launched Realize the Dream, an initiative to encourage community service and civic engagement leading up to what would have been Martin Luther King Jr.'s 100th birthday in 2029. At just 16, Yolanda has already shown that she is ready to step into the spotlight. She represents not just the King family's past, but its future. A reminder that the dream will continue for generations to come. The lives of the King children have not been easy. They grew up without a father under the constant gaze of the public. They faced internal disagreements over how best to protect and share their father's legacy. They carried the weight of grief and responsibility, and yet, each in their own way, they have honored Dr. King's vision. Yolanda through art and storytelling, Martin III through leadership and activism, Dexter through protection of the legacy, Bernice through public ministry, and young Yolanda Renee through youthful passion and energy. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." His children and granddaughter have taken those steps, sometimes in the spotlight, sometimes quietly behind the scenes, but always in the direction of justice and peace. From the heartbreaking loss of Yolanda, Denise, and Dexter, to the ongoing activism of Martin III and Bernice, to the rising voice of Yolanda Renee, the King family shows us that the dream did not end in 1968. It continues to grow, to evolve, and to inspire. The story of Martin Luther King Jr.'s children is not just about carrying a famous name, it is about carrying a mission. And as long as they and future generations continue to fight for justice, the dream will remain alive.